Have you ever wished you could give your child more personalized one-on-one math help, but you don't understand the math well enough to help, and hiring a private math tutor is way too expensive? Whether your child is falling behind, right on track, or ready for more, every child should have access to math curriculum that's right on their level. Meet Astral, the AI tutor for homeschoolers. Astral is an AI-based K-8 math curriculum that doesn't just deliver lessons. It uses the power of AI to create your child's lessons from scratch in real time, specifically for your child, based on exactly what they know and what they still need to learn. Astral is a complete curriculum, not just supplemental material or a fun learning game. It covers every K-8 math skill your child needs, meets all national and state standards, and comes with everything built in. A placement assessment so you know exactly where your child stands, daily personalized lessons, practice, and mastery tracking so you can see exactly what they've learned and what still needs work. Your child works independently on lessons built specifically for their interest, so you don't have to sit next to them and learn the math yourself so that you can teach it to them. And it only takes about 20 to 30 minutes a day. There's a parent dashboard so you always know what they're working on, printable transcripts for your records, and it works on any device. Now, full disclosure, my children do go to a private school during the school year, and I homeschool them during the summer, though a lot less now as they're getting older. But as a former elementary school teacher and private tutor who cares a lot about quality education and who has seen firsthand how learning and family differences can have a tremendous impact on a child's ability and willingness to learn, I'm a big believer in finding the schooling solution that works best for your unique family. So if you homeschool full-time, your kids struggle in a traditional school environment, they have learning differences, they struggle to stay engaged and motivated, you're working with bilingual students, your kids are ready to rush on ahead of their typical grade level, or you've considered a private tutor but you don't want the high price tag, Astral might be the perfect solution for your family. So let me walk you through the process of signing up for and using Astral Tutor so you know exactly how it works and what to expect. First, you're going to go to their website and go ahead and sign up. From here, you'll create your account, add a password, and then it'll ask you some questions to set up your account. You'll be asked for your first name, the state that you live in so that you can align to your state standards. If your child is a boy or a girl, one thing to note, make sure if you think you're going to use this for multiple children that you enter them all in here. The first time that I went through this process, I had only added one child, and then when my other child wanted to try this as well, there wasn't a way for me to get back at the time of this recording. There wasn't a way for me to get back to add the second child. I was able to email their customer service team and they got back to me very quickly and added them manually, but you might as well, if there's other kids who you think might use it, just go ahead and sign them all up at the same time. So we're going to start with girl and give her a name and an age. And we'll just pick anything here. And you can choose a color that she likes. And if you want to go through and add additional children, we'll just do one for now. So here, next it will ask you for their interests. For this is just because AI can create so many different examples and stories based on anything that you want. So there's no need to overthink this. Just think of a few things you can ask your son or daughter or student. What are a few things that they may be interested in? So we'll just use the examples that are here. This does not limit them to only those interests. As we were going through this, my daughter was able to do lessons on all kinds of things that weren't just limited to what she had here. But this kind of gives it some guidance and direction of some things that might make it more fun and engaging. You can choose which grade you want to start at, and we can just pick something for now. It tells you basically what they're going to learn at each grade. Now, you are not locked in here. It's not saying, hey, you are going to do like this grade 5 curriculum we already have for you. It just kind of gives it a starting point as it's asking the initial diagnostic questions to know like, hey, here's about where she probably is. So if you already know your child is significantly ahead or behind, you might as well just choose the grade where you think is going to be a better fit rather than getting locked into what they actually are by age level in a traditional school. I love that you can add in if your child has any unique interest or consideration. For example, if they have a hard time focusing or they're diagnosed with dyslexia, just any kind of that information. I'm not sure how much AI can do with this information, but it could be helpful in helping the AI to create lessons that are a little bit more custom tailored to your family's needs. So I thought this was really interesting. It allows you to personalize your faith so that you can weave your family's beliefs into every lesson. You don't have to, it's completely optional. You can choose no, thank you. When I was signing us up though, I just kept it really simple. Yes, she is Christian. You can either choose if you want faith aware but no mentions, faith friendly with some mentions, or faith centered with consistent mentions. It gives you a quick rundown of everything you're going to get. You fill out your phone number, which I will say is mandatory. You cannot enter a fake phone, or at least 000s didn't work. So you do need to enter a real phone number. Honestly, I consider that a drawback because maybe I just want to log into the dashboard, or maybe I just want email and I don't want text messages, but you don't have an option to not get text messages, to not sign up for them in the first place. So at this point, it just gives you another, hey, you're all set and you are ready to go. Now, it is important to note that diagnostic lessons take 15 minutes to be prepared. So this isn't a thing where you sign up and you say, okay, I'm going to sign up and we're going to sit down right away. Like we have 30 minutes. We're going to knock out a lesson. You really do need to sign up in advance because it does take, at least for us, it did take at least 15 minutes for us to get the email that said, hey, your initial diagnostic lessons are ready for you. So just know in advance you're going to want to have it set up before you actually sit down with your kids. Because if you're saying, hey, sit down, and you get through the whole rigmarole of getting them to sit down, and then, oh, wait, I have to sign us up for everything. And then, oh, wait, it's going to be 15 more minutes. And by then you may have lost your children who didn't like math in the first place. So just know that is something you're going to want to do in advance. So now back inside my normal account, let me give you a quick tour of the dashboard for both parents and for children so you can kind of see what all is available in here and where everything is. So when you first sign in as a parent, you're able to see your children at a glance, and the leaderboard is right here as well so that you as a parent can see or show your kids, if you're interested in them seeing how they're doing either with correct answers on their first try or the number of lessons they are completed. That's really helpful to see right at a glance. From here, you can see the progress of any of your children to see at a glance how they are doing. So if I just click on view progress, I can see their learning arcs and see what exact skills that they are working on, how many lessons they've completed on those skills, how they're doing on working on each of those skills, if they've barely started working on it or if they've been working on it a lot. I can see more about the skills here. It just gives me information in a few different ways. There's a lot of really helpful charts in here. So you can see that these aren't just random learning games. Your children are working on specific skills that they have either mastered or not mastered or need extra practice. So it really keeps you in the loop as a parent with exactly what your children are working on. And then you can also see the lessons that they're working on. So you can see how many lessons they've completed, what days they've completed lessons, which lessons they're working on, what they have upcoming, what they've completed. So it gives you a really good idea here. Even if your kids are working independently while you are in the next room or working with another child, you can easily go back and have a good record of here's exactly what they have learned, what skills they have worked on, how they're doing on each of those skills. So all of that is available here for each of your kids. When my kiddos were just starting out doing the diagnostic lessons first. So it has them do a couple of diagnostic lessons first just to see where they're at before they start working on the actual skills they need practice with. For those initial diagnostic lessons, we just came here to the parent dashboard and did begin lesson and went through them that way. But once your kids are working and they're working through all of their lessons, they finished their diagnostics, then you can come up here to the student portal or even before then and choose your student here and access their dashboard this way. And then you can either have them work on it right on this device, which is what we have been doing just to have them work on my computer. Or if you have your children have their own devices or there's a different device that you want them to use so they're not on your device, then you can access that here as well. So this will take you over to the student portal. And it's really easy for your kids to see exactly what they should be working on right now and what they have coming up next. So you just scroll down a little bit and it shows you exactly here's what she is working on her level, and she just hits play to get started on this lesson. Or if for whatever reason she wants to look ahead at what is coming up next, you could skip ahead to a couple lessons, but there's not a ton in here. It's not like a whole library you're choosing from. It really is putting them together in real time. Here's what you're working on next. So there's just a few lessons in here for her to choose from, which could be good or bad depending, but she's not going to get distracted working on all kinds of different things because it really is narrowly focused on here is what you are working on next. Here's your skills. It does give you some ability to create different worlds, which we haven't played around with a lot yet. I know that she is earning points for all of the lessons that she does. So as she earns those points, she can use those to create different worlds, which can be a lot of fun. And then there's also an arcade up here with some math games. So once she has done her lessons for the day, or you say, hey, it's okay, go play some arcade games, you just want to do this for fun, then you can come in here and check out a few different math games that are available that just allow her to practice whatever skills it is that she wants to work, depending on whichever game she chooses. You can see all of her points right here to see how she is doing, so she can keep track, and that can be really motivating for kids to earn those coins. I know my daughter said that she loved being able to earn those coins. You can switch back and forth really easily. There's not anything that prevents children from getting back to the parent dashboard, so depending on your kids, that may or may not be a bad thing, but they can really easily, there's no password or anything. They can go right over to the parent dashboard. They can go right over to their siblings dashboard. So they can easily switch back and forth right here. And then the final tab up here is where they can choose their AI buddy. All right, so let's talk about the pros and cons, because like any homeschool curriculum, it definitely has some pros and cons. So first of all, for the pros, it is a complete K through 8 math curriculum. This is great because you don't have to go hunting for different resources or piece everything together. Everything your child needs for math is already in one place. It's also great that you can customize it to your child's interests and abilities. So the AI builds every lesson specifically for your child based on what they know and what they're into, so it never feels like a one-size-fits-all worksheet, but you can help a kid who maybe doesn't particularly care for math that much be more interested and more engaged when the AI is building the lessons around the things that they are already naturally interested in. If your child has learning differences, this is a really big deal. So instead of fighting with your child to do worksheets that they don't understand or read a book that they just don't have the attention span to sit and try to comprehend, the AI can actually use voice chatting to be able to explain the lesson to them, answer their questions, and walk them through exactly what they need to know to make sure that your kids are learning however is going to be best suited for them. And that is a huge deal for kids who work better that way. Right alongside with that, the AI never gets tired or bored or frustrated. It will explain the same concept as many times as your child needs from different angles, however it takes, with the same patience every time. So your child can choose an AI buddy to learn alongside of them, which makes it more fun and engaging, rather than you just getting frustrated or busy or distracted because you have so many things that you're trying to juggle at once and you're trying to teach fractions, and it just can be a mess. So the AI can be very patient and explain it a lot of different ways. With Astral, your child is able to work mostly independently. You don't have to sit right there and work through teaching them the lessons yourself. The software will go through and teach them the things that we need to know. And because it is completely customized to your child and their progress, your kids can work at their same pace. So depending on how they answer the activities, the AI takes notes and adjusts their lessons accordingly so they can get extra practice on the concepts that they're struggling with without being bored, stuck on concepts they've already learned while waiting for their classmates to catch up. So whether your child needs a little extra time and some extra practice, they're going to get that without feeling bad about it because it's different for every person. Whereas if they are really nailing the concepts and they are ready to rush ahead, then the AI can facilitate that as well. But no matter how slowly or quickly your children go through the curriculum, it only takes 20 to 30 minutes a day. So it's short enough to be sustainable, but long enough for a real meaningful lesson. It's not something that your kids are expected to sit for a long time and pay attention. And a few other fun things. There is a leaderboard where kids can compete with their friends and family, which can be a great motivator for kids who are a little competitive. So that can be really fun for the right kid. And then also I was really impressed by their customer support because it still is a fairly new, small company. Their customer support was really easy to get a hold of, and they responded very quickly when I had a question, which honestly matters a lot when you're relying on a program like this for your child's education. So if there's anything that you need, you can reach out to them. They provide multiple ways to reach out. So I was really impressed and happy about that. Okay, so let's talk about the cons, because like any curriculum or software, there are always going to be things that work better for some families and not for others. And these may be things that you say, that's not a big deal, totally happy with that. And there may be things in here that are a deal breaker for you. So let's just run through some areas of potential concern that you do want to be aware of. So first of all, it is a math only curriculum. It is not a complete homeschool curriculum that covers all of the subjects. It just does math. So depending on what you're looking for, that may be exactly what you're looking for or not what you're looking for, but that is important to know. It is just math. Secondly, Astral is not accredited by any outside agency. So they're completely transparent about this and they're intentional about it. They state that their philosophy is that parents are the teacher and they don't need outside validation. But if accreditation matters to you, this is something to be aware of. Next, I did notice that it takes about 15 minutes to get started. Once you create your account, it takes like 15 minutes for it to create the initial diagnostic materials. So if you're thinking, oh, we're going to sit down, we're going to like get started right away, you have to actually set it up in advance. This isn't a big deal, but it is something that is good to know. I did notice though that the free trial does not start until you actually complete the registration process. So I had started setting up our account one day and then I came back like 2 weeks later and it still had the full free trial for me. So it didn't start for me at least until I had finished setting up the account. But there is that 15-minute or so waiting period in between. So you do want to set it up in advance. Next, it is worth noting that both the company Astral and the technology that they're using is pretty new and untested. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that it's bad, but they just haven't had the experience and the feedback and the reiteration that some of the other companies that have been around a lot longer have had. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is a new and up and coming technology, and I'm really glad that somebody is using it in this way. But it is something that is brand new, so you may see that as either a pro or a con. Another really big con for me is that it's really missing the human element. So I love all of the really cool things that it can do with AI, but no matter how good the technology is, it can't see your child's face or read their body language. It can't tell if they're bored or frustrated or quietly checked out. And while the AI is patient and thorough, it does have limits in how it explains certain concepts. So a human tutor could pick up on things in the moment that AI simply can't do. So while the fact that it is on a screen and it is using AI can be major selling points, they also can be cons as well. If your children are already on screens too much as it is, this is another screen that they would be on. Or I know there are some significant concerns with using AI, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But a couple of last cons before we wrap up this section. One is that there wasn't a lot of variety available at a single time. So because the AI is creating lessons for your children as it goes, it's not like this huge library where they can kind of pick and choose and bounce around. Instead, they really are kind of forced to do the lesson or like the next couple of lessons. And while there is some variety in terms of you can tell it like, oh, this child likes Minecraft and this child likes Barbie, it's not like this whole library where they can kind of pick and choose what they want to work on. And then finally, one really big con of this website is the price. So it's definitely not the budget option. It's not a small investment. Now, I do think the value is there for the right family. For families who are looking for this kind of technology specifically, it is a fantastic value. However, for many families, they simply may not have the funds. Even if they say this is a great platform, it would be so helpful, I would absolutely love this, this would be perfect for my kids. There are some families who truly won't be able to afford it. So you'll have to decide for yourself if the price is something that you are able to budget for. Okay, I want to take a minute to talk about the fact that this is an AI-based program because I think that's worth having an honest conversation about. I'll be real with you. I have mixed feelings about AI, especially when it comes to our kids. I do use AI myself all the time, but I'm an adult who is using AI to help speed up tasks I already know how to do, not a child who is still rapidly developing. We're at a point in history where AI is moving incredibly fast, and I don't think any of us fully knows yet what the long-term effects of normalizing it with children will be. That's a legitimate concern, and I don't want to brush right past it. For example, Astral allows the AI and the child to talk to each other so the child can ask questions and the AI can explain how to do the math problems. For kids who genuinely need that extra one-on-one support and a patient tutor who can kindly and calmly explain concepts again and again in multiple ways. For example, kids with learning differences, kids who are significantly behind, or kids who have checked out of math entirely, I think the benefits here clearly outweigh the concerns. The help they get from a patient, personalized AI tutor that never makes them feel stupid is genuinely hard to find anywhere else, especially at an affordable price point. For kids like this, This technology is absolutely worth it, and this is a great way to use AI. But for average kids who are already spending plenty of time on screens as it is, that's a conversation each family is going to have for themselves. You know your child and your family better than anyone else. In terms of safety, Astral has built some real guardrails here. The AI operates in a completely closed math-only environment. This is not a general chatbot. Instead, it is specifically programmed to help your children with math without letting them get off topic. I tried to have a quick conversation with the AI within my daughter's lessons to push the boundaries and see what it would let me talk about and not talk about. And I was super happy to see that every time that I tried to talk about anything other than math, it gently but firmly redirected me back to what we were supposed to be talking about and kept me right on track.
I'm comparing the light from 2 different constellations I painted. Find the value of the highlighted digit in each number. Then complete the comparison statement.
Woof! Hey there! Looks like we're checking out these numbers. So what's got you pausing on these problems? Which part are we looking at first? Ah, gotcha. Well, think about where that 7 is hanging out in the number. In 47,300, it's in the thousands place, right? What do you think that makes its value? And then look at the other 7 in 81,750. What's its value there? Spot on. So that 7 in 47,300 is actually worth 7,000. Now, how about the 7 in 81,750? What's its value since it's in the hundreds place? Ooh, close. It's in the hundreds place, not the tens. So if you have 7 hundreds, that's worth 700. Now that you know its value, can you figure out how many times bigger 7,000 is than 700? Ah, I hear ya. Sometimes it can feel like a really tricky puzzle. But hey, we're figuring it out together, right? Let's just take that last step. Think about how many times you'd count by 700 to reach 7,000. What do you think? Haha, nice try. But my doggy brain is all about those numbers right now. Let's just finish up this last part and then maybe we can take a break. What do you think? How many times does 700 go into 7,000? That's super interesting, but I'm just a math-loving pup who's really good at counting, not religions. Let's get back to that last part. Then you can run off and explore whatever you want. How many times do you think 700 goes into 7,000? Almost done. Okay, we're stuck. So let's talk about it. Division just means splitting into equal groups. If you have 7,000 things and you want to split them up into groups of 700, you'd end up with 10 groups. So 7,000 divided by 700 equals 10. You want to try one like that? What about 5,000 divided by 500? Yes, possum, you got it. I knew you could. See, math isn't so bad. Want to try another one or are we done for now? All right, break time then. But no way on the religion talk. My head's only filled with numbers right now. Go have some fun. Catch you later.
Because Astral is committed to parent transparency, there is a way also to see the transcripts within the parent dashboard, but at the time of this recording, they are a little bit difficult to find. I was able to come in here to view progress and look at some of the lessons that my daughter had completed and see part of the conversation that she had had with an AI. Here under Buddy Logs, it gives me a lot of information. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I can see exactly what she said and what her buddy said. So if I have any concerns, I can go in and look later. However, at the time of this recording, I would have to go in lesson by lesson and click a bunch of clicks in order to be able to find this. So it's not really user-friendly at this point. However, I will say that I did bring some concerns to the company just last night to tell them, hey, like I found a bug in their system. I found like a little way where people could get into things they shouldn't be getting into. And they immediately, within hours, fixed the functionality to take care of the error. So this is not just a company where they are just throwing something out there and saying, good luck parents, like hopefully that you figure it out with your kids. Instead, it seems, for everything that I can tell, they are really committed to using AI in a really innovative and really helpful way, while also keeping those safeguards in mind. I was just so impressed with how quickly they got back to me, how quickly they didn't just say, hey, we're working on it, but they immediately disabled the functionality that I had found to make it more safe for our kids. So I can tell that this is a company that really is committed to creating a good product over the long haul. So at the moment, at the time of this recording, it does take a little bit of clicking, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that they made hopefully a little bit easier to find in the future. So overall, I do think Astral is a great solution for a very specific problem. So many kids are simply not well served in a traditional classroom environment. Their parents can't afford or don't have access to a private tutor, and the parents don't feel comfortable or don't have the knowledge or time to piece together an entire math curriculum from K through 8, much less actually learn all the math themselves first so that they can teach it to their children, especially for busy, overwhelmed moms with kids who hate learning. The patience just isn't there. In cases like these, I love that Astral is able to use AI to meet these children right where they are, to provide instruction right at their level, to patiently teach and explain as long or as many times as necessary, and even to provide instruction across multiple different languages. That's really cool. I was actually trained to teach in both special education and teaching English as a second or other language classrooms, and if I had pursued either of those paths, I would absolutely explore using Astral with my students. However, because of my concerns with AI, I would probably still use it in short doses, which is what it's designed for, and while I'm nearby, either in the same room or the next room over, so I can be available to help answer questions as needed and make sure my kiddos are staying on track. But the truth is, no math curriculum is perfect and none of them are one size fits all. But that's okay. They don't have to be. You just have to find the solution that works best for your family. And if your child needs a patient, personalized teacher who is willing to go at their exact pace, explain the same concept 10 different ways without ever getting frustrated, and make them feel capable rather than behind, that's incredibly hard to find. And Astral does that better than anything else I've come across. Sure, it's not cheap. You could download a bunch of free worksheets on the internet and spend hours trying to cobble together a piecemeal curriculum for free, but the money you save designing your own curriculum, you're going to pay for in hours of that cobbling and teaching and checking against state standards and figuring out what your child has learned and still needs to learn. And I don't know about you, but I don't have time for all of that. But if you're looking for one-on-one help that's completely personalized to your child's development, interests, learning styles, and preferences without the high price point of having to hire a private tutor, and you're willing to stay at least somewhat nearby to supervise as needed, this is a fantastic and really unique option, absolutely worth checking out. So check out the description below to learn more about Astral and try it for yourself.